So this exercise is an opportunity to allow us an awareness of our midfoot, and then ultimately then we can progress and we can train the ability to co-contract. So the actual start of this exercise, it's absolutely critical that you get right. A lot of people, they'll keep their weight on their heel, they'll do this exercise. If you don't get the start position right, then this exercise will not be half as effective. So Shane, if I can just get you to face this way, and if you just come forward a little bit more, and then what I'm going to get Shane to do is get his belly button over his midfoot. Okay, so you can do it. Yeah, that's it. So Shane does that really nicely. His belly button and his chest bone is over his midfoot. Now, what a lot of patients are going to do is they'll try to do this without having a slight bend in the knee, and then they'll use a hip strategy. Okay, so you can see here now that as we bend, he's using excessive load through his hip, but he's not getting a whole lot of load through his soleus and through his distal hamstrings. He's getting a good bit through his proximal hamstrings. Now, if we do it again, so a slight bend in the knee, Shane, and just allow your belly button to travel over your midfoot. Now, Shane should feel his soleus working well, his VMO should be kicking in, and his distal hamstring. So if you just face the camera and do it this way, so same again, you'll see that shift forward, where now, if I was to give Shane a perturbation, he can manage that. Okay, now if you do it the way with the straight knee and a lean forward, I could easily push him forward like that. Okay, now he can manage me that way a little bit better because he's leaning forward, but ultimately he's not balanced. Whereas what we want is we want your weight on your midfoot. So as I said, you can give contact, you can take contact. So just practicing that movement of keeping the chest bone and the belly button in line, softening the knee and allowing your whole body weight to go over the midfoot. For a lot of patients, that's actually going to be a lot of work because they're going to want to stay on the heel, or they're going to want to skip their midfoot and they're going to want to go forward onto the toes. So as I said, from my experience, a lot of patients, they lose the ability, the awareness of finding that midfoot, because the motor adaptations and the strategies they use and the movement habits they develop, it's all about pushing through the heel. So again, in a sit to stand, vast majority of patients, they'll push through the heel to stand up, whereas we want them to push through the midfoot. So when we get Shane in that good position, so Shane, if you go into that good position again, all we're going to do now is we're going to get Shane to relax his neck, okay, and relax his upper back. So now what Shane should notice as he's done that is there's more load gone through his leg, okay? So again, we'll carry a lot of load tolerance through the low back. When we relax the rib cage, we relax the leg, now there's extra load going through the lower limb. Now all I want Shane to do is I want him to reach down as far as he's comfortable, okay? Keep reaching, so that's where now we need a lot of good mobility through his rib cage. And now what I want you to do, Shane, is I want you to squash an orange through your midfoot to come back up again. Good, push, push, push. And you can see this is working well. And the nice thing here is if you do it facing me this time, Shane, is when Shane keeps his head and neck relaxed as he comes down and he pushes through the midfoot, then he has to use his glute max because his low back's relaxed. The intent through the midfoot, soleus and hamstring work isometrically. Now glute max is doing the work to get back up again. If Shane uses his back, this is what it's going to look like. So if you come down, I know I want you to lead with your head on the way up, Shane will extend through his low back. So that's why it's so important we keep the chin tucked, to give him no choice but to use the glute max on the way up. The other thing you're going to see that Shane's actually doing this really well, but a lot of patients, they're going to start to extend the knee. So as you go down, Shane, and then as he comes up, the knee will kick back. Now, if the knee kicks back, he has to use his low back to get back up again because he's used hip extension. So now he has to use lumbar extension. So that's going to be another thing that is going to be there. The other thing that you're going to see is as they go down is Shane will bend his knee excessively as he goes down. So if they don't have a lot of good ribcage mobility, they'll usually bend the knee because they can't depress and retract the ribcage. So if you haven't passed the hamstring load tolerance test, you're going to see that knee kick back. So if you do a few where it kicks back, and you'll just see that they'll just start doing this stuff, okay? So the key thing here, and if you do a is that we want to train that co-contraction by having intent through the midfoot. So you can see here Shane, as he comes up, his hip's actually going to travel forward at the very top of the movement. And that's all glute max there because his low back's relaxed, his chin's tucked, that's it, and his hip comes through there. But there's a lot of tension in soleus, there's a lot of tension in hamstring working isometrically to allow him to use his glute max. So that's the dynamic way where we're going to start to train that co-contraction. We can again use our 3 dimensions. We can have an understanding of the pelvis and the rib cage. to put load in any direction we want, or to bias any direction we want, once we understand the impact of the pelvis and the rib cage, which I'm going to cover in the up and coming videos.